You're listening to the Creator Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Letitia Ringe, and this is episode number 45. Welcome, my beautiful friends, to the Creator Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you again today. I'm recording this episode from Bali once again. I've finished my retreat with prettier from Elevate the Globe. I've got so much to talk to you about. But before I dive on into what we're talking about today, I want to let you know that this podcast, for anyone new here joining us today, is designed to inspire, empower, and support you on your journey of uncovering your truth and purpose in the world. So that's right, we're here to support you in aligning with your purpose. And today you're going to be hearing from me. I have a solo episode, and it's on a topic that I think impacts most people, and it's one that is super pervasive in our societies today, and one that I've personally struggled with throughout my life, and I know that many of us struggle with this. And so today I want to talk about this topic, and specifically as it relates to showing up for our purpose. So I'm really excited to dive into that. Now, before I share with you what today's topic is about, I do want to mention that I chose to record this episode while I'm in Bali because, as I mentioned in my last episode, I wanted to share with you some of this beautiful Bali magic with you. So as I record this, I've moved on from Uluwatu, so I'm now in Canggu. I've met one of my beautiful friends here. We've got a gorgeous villa, and we've just been exploring this gorgeous place. It's so beautiful. There's so many awesome shops. There's so many cool cafes, lots of, cool raw vegan places or plant-based places, and, refined sugar-free, and all of the things that I really, really love that just makes me so happy to have so many options. And today I did a really beautiful yoga class. It was called Moon Yoga, and it was all about purpose and about the moon. And we went through this gorgeous visualization with the full moon that was so beautiful. I'm looking forward to incorporating some of this beautiful vision in some of my guided meditations coming up. And it's just so nice to be here. So my week at the retreat with Elevate the Globe was so incredible. First of all, the venue at Uluwatu Surf Villas was just sensational. It was right on the cliffs of Uluwatu, with an unobstructed view of the sunset in the most gorgeous, villas. We had 5 people in one villa, and there were, I think, 25 of us in total, and all our villas were side by side. Each villa had its own pool. We had a cute hammock, and they were just so gorgeous, so beautifully designed. Beautiful vegan food again throughout the whole retreat, and just lots of people coming from all over the world with the same sort of interests and the same passion for connecting in this high vibe conscious way, and trying to elevate ourselves so that we can show up in our communities elevated and able to have that beautiful ripple effect and take away everything that we've learned and uncovered about ourselves through this trip, to then take that back to our communities and help us all in showing up for the difference that we want to see in the world, which, as you know, is what I'm all about over here. And so it's been so incredible, but I will say that I'm still processing everything that's happened because there was so much. We had packed days. Some days we did 3 sessions of yoga, and then we, really wanted to connect with one another, and I had some incredible discussions and conversations, and I felt like I went through so many ups and downs, and then just on this constant high with the people around me. I feel like these connections that I've made will be lifelong friends, and I'm so excited to share with you everything that I've been learning and doing. So what I've decided to do is to do a separate episode, a solo episode, all about Bali and what I've experienced, what I've learned, some recommendations for you, because seriously, there was just so much, and if I talk about it in today's episode, it's just going to take up the whole episode, and I have a really important topic that I'm so excited to talk to you about today. So with that said, Bali has been wonderful. I'm so excited. I've got another week here. I'm doing Canggu, then moving into Ubud. There's been so much magical flow throughout this trip. It's been incredible to also have the new moon in Sagittarius happening while I'm here, because that is all about travel and freedom and exploration. And so I truly believe after doing this trip that I really want to do some sort of trip every December, because there's so much rush at this time of year, to show up for all of the social things and to let loose. And actually it can be kind of exhausting. So this vacating my usual life and going out just to focus on me and to focus on letting go of anything I want to let go, but also to really prepare for this next level of expansion for myself, I have personally found just so incredibly helpful, so profound, such a just an easeful way to end the year and to really celebrate all of the amazing things that, I've created this year. So if you're someone who's been thinking, that this time of year can be a little bit too hectic, I encourage you to truly start to ease, really find that sense of ease at this time of year, celebrate yourself, and just, take your foot off the pedal. Just really enjoy this. Do as much as you can to be really loving and nurturing to yourself, and, make it all about you at this time of year. And, something that I'm going to also send around to all of you who are signed up for my newsletter is one of my favorite practices to do at this time of year. So if you want to get that, make sure you're signed up for my newsletter at leticiaringe.com/community. It's such a beautiful one to do. I'm so excited to start doing this myself. I'm going to be doing it on my plane ride back to London. So if you want that, make sure you're signed up. And so I want to let you know some other exciting news. So only today I found out something that is just a really beautiful way to wrap up everything that's been happening this month for me. And that is, so a few weeks ago, I nominated myself for some awards that are being held or offered in the Beautiful You coaching community. And so I applied for 3 different awards, and I have found out today that I'm a finalist for all 3 of them. And the reason that I wanted to share this with you here, because apart from the fact that I think it's always really important that we share with, our loved ones, and you are my loved ones as a listener of this podcast, we share our achievements. The reason that in particular I wanted to share this accomplishment is because one of the awards that I nominated myself for, so I applied for, was for this podcast. So for the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. And so it has been selected as a finalist for this award. And I just want to say a really big thank you to every single person listening to this now, and to all of you who tune in each week to listen and share this space with me, because it wouldn't be possible without you, and actually the whole reason it exists is because of you. And so whether, you reach out to me and let me know how much this podcast means to you, or whether you've, left me a review or reached out in some other way, or whether you just tune in each week or when you get a chance to, however we've connected through this podcast, I just want you to know how grateful I am and how much I love showing up here and talking to you and connecting with you here through this podcast. It's been a truly wonderful year. I started the podcast back in January of 2018, and since then it's stretched me in so many ways. It's helped me to find my voice. It's helped me to share my message. It's helped me to connect with you all, which is the most important thing for me. So it's because of you. So today I truly want you to know how much I appreciate and love you, and thank you so much for being here. So on that note, let me share with you what today's topic is. So I am talking today all about body image, really, and what this has to do with purpose. And so I know that body image is something that many of us have struggled with throughout our lifetime. It could be about weight. It could be simply about the way we look. It could be about feeling beautiful. It could be about things like acne or, not feeling like we've got the ideal body that we want, the ideal body shape. It could be about, the color of your skin. It could be about your age. Like, there are so many different things when it comes to body image that impacts so many of us. And I feel like this is an area where most of us can relate, that it's an area that we can kind of beat ourselves up about. Like, we really wish we were more beautiful. We really wish we looked a different way. We really wish we could lose that weight. For some of us, it could even be that we really wish we could put weight on. So today I really want to address what I think is kind of the elephant in the room, and that is something that we spend a lot of our time occupied, or a lot of our mind, actually our mental energy, preoccupied with this subject. And so I want to share with you what this has to do with purpose, and also some really useful tools that I have found in helping me to create a much more beautiful and loving relationship with my body that supports me in showing up in the world in the way that I want to. So before we dive into that, I also want to mention that my 12-month online mentorship for 2019 and beyond, which I shouldn't say mine, it's really ours, it's yours if you want it. There is a special early bird offer on this mentorship, and it closes this Thursday. So it depends on when you're listening to the podcast, but it's closing on Thursday, the 13th of December. You get 25% off when you use the special code that you'll find at letitiaringe.com/activated. And if you haven't heard about what this program is, basically I'm going to be taking you through at the beginning of 2019 on the 6th of January with our new moon in Capricorn. I will be taking you through my personal annual process to make sure that I'm aligned with my purpose and creating an inspiring vision and plan for the rest of 2019 to show up not only for my purpose, but also to show up and create all of the different things that I want to create throughout 2019 and beyond in all areas of my life, making sure that I'm truly aligned with my values. It is literally my favorite thing to do each year, and I'm so excited to be bringing this to you all and sharing in this beautiful process with you all, because I think there will be so much magic in it by doing it together. And then what we'll be doing is spending the rest of 2019 together, going through group coaching calls and trainings to help you in showing up for your purpose and making the heart-centered difference that you want to make in the world. So this is for you, whether you know what your purpose is, or maybe it's that you want to move to a different line of work. Maybe you just want to change employment. Maybe you've got a passion project that's been tugging at your heartstrings, or maybe you want to start a business. Maybe it's an online business like me. Whatever it is, I want to help you show up for that, for your purpose, what your heart is calling you to create, and also to show up for the beautiful gifts that you have. And every single one of us has beautiful gifts that we're born into this world with. And I truly believe that our purpose is to cultivate those gifts. And when we use those gifts and we match these to our interests and our passions and our curiosities, this is where we're supposed to be showing up in the world. So I want to help you show up in the most expanded way, and also the most supported way throughout 2019. I truly believe that 2018 we've been clearing out a lot of stuff, and now 2019, this is our year to really spread our wings. And so I want to do it with you all. I want this to be a beautiful collaborative experience. I'll be sharing with you everything that I've used to help me show up for my purpose and to build this beautiful business that I've created, which is really where I put all of my creativity, all of my soul. This is where I feel that I'm making my difference. This is what I'm creating in the world. And so I want to use everything that I've learned throughout this journey with you. So the trainings are going to be, basically, I'm going to be teaching you what you most want in that moment, because I always love to, be guided by my intuition and flow. So each month we'll be seeing, what people are most wanting and needing. And then I'll be giving you a special tailored training for that particular topic. And you'll also get a group coaching call every single month. In fact, there's 14 of them throughout the experience. And so you'll have the chance to be in the hot seat and be coached, or listen to others being coached, because we learn so much by what is happening with the people in these group coaching calls. In my course, Embrace Your Feminine Essence, this was one of the most favorite parts of the course of almost everyone, and the feedback that I was given. They really loved the group coaching. And even over in the Make a Difference Soul Tribe, people really loved that collaborative experience of through the purpose training that I ran. So if this is something that sounds really interesting to you, I've offered this in a way that will be as affordable as possible, and it'll be even more affordable if you do sign up before the 13th of December, so that you can have this high level support in this beautiful community collaborative environment, and it will be over a whole year. So there is a lot that we can create in a year, my friends. There is so much. I just look at everything I've created this year, and there is so much that we can do. But this is really propelling you into the bigger vision for yourself. And all in a super heart-centered way, because that's how I like to roll. If you're someone who's been following me for a while, I'm really tapped into my feminine energy. This will be, intuitively led, heart-led. We will be doing this in a way that honors both our masculine and feminine energy. So it depends on what you need, but if you're someone who, feels like you need a little bit more accountability, you want someone to help you dream bigger, you want someone to help you with the how, you want someone to help you get the clarity around what your purpose even is and on each next step, because our upper limit tends to kick in and it tells us, oh, maybe we're not on the right track, and so we get distracted. You want people during those moments to help keep you on track, but also making sure that this is your best next step, that you are connected to your intuition. So you'll also get guided new moon meditations each month, which I'm going to be really excited to walk you through. And you'll also have an online community where we'll get to connect in between our trainings and coaching sessions. So if that is something that sounds interesting to you, then you can check out all the details at letitiaringe.com/activated. And I'm so excited to support you all. It's truly such an honor for me as well. So yeah, let's get activated in 2019 together. Now, let's dive into today's episode, which is all about body image and purpose. So first of all, I just want to say that if you are someone who's struggling with body image issues and it's seriously affecting you, I just want you to know that you're not alone, and also that it's such a loving and supportive step for yourself to go and seek help if that's something that you feel that you need. So if that could be through a therapist, it could be some other sort of healing modality, it could be through your doctor. Please get help if this is something that is affecting you and you know that it's become really serious. This is not something to be ashamed about. Whenever we're struggling with something, the best thing we can do is go out and get the help that we need. I also want to mention that I'm not a doctor and I'm not a therapist. I am a coach, but I'm someone, when it comes to body image, I just have my own experience, and I know that by sharing my own experience, this is going to help so many of you listening. And I think it's something that we need to talk about more, and especially as women, although this is something, an area that affects all of us, there are many men struggling with body image issues too. So whoever you are, please know that I'm just going to be sharing from my experience, but I think that you'll find that there will be pieces that resonate for you, whatever issue it is that you're dealing with under this, body image banner, because there are so many different aspects to it. But really, if you're someone who believes that your life would be better if you looked a different way, then this episode is for you. And the first thing I want to mention is that I know how hard it is and how pervasive this issue is today. We are very outwardly focused as a collective. We feel like we're judged by the way by the way we look, and we also feel like we need to meet a certain ideal in order to fit in. And so I think that this has a lot to do with this, deep feeling, this deep urge and desire for belonging that I've spoken about a lot on this podcast. We want to fit in with the people around us. And so by doing that, we give up parts of ourselves. We try to change and manipulate ourselves. And what this does then when it comes to body image is that we try to change the way we look to fit some sort of ideal that we think we need to fit into in order to belong. But just like with belonging in any sense, whenever we change ourselves, so we give up parts of ourselves in order to fit in, this is where we feel like we don't belong still. So it's so strange because you think, oh, okay, if I just act or look the same way as all the people around me, then I'm going to feel like I belong. But the truth of the matter is that whenever we're not being honest and truthful and authentic to who we truly are, to what our truth is, we will still feel like we don't belong. So, whenever you've done something where you feel like, oh, this is what I know people will want to hear. So you just say whatever it is that they'll want to hear. And you feel that sense of, oh, this is really icky because it's not really the way that I feel. And I've kind of just lied, I've just gone out there and lied and, supported something or voiced something that isn't truly the way that I feel. And you just feel a bit icky inside. This is what it's like, but, magnified when we're doing this, every single day. And particularly I feel when we show up with the way that we look. We're given these bodies, we're given these appearances, and whenever we're trying to, put on a uniform or hide ourselves, we're going to feel in some way like we're being suppressed, like the truth of us is being suppressed. And I gave this example on Instagram at some point where when I used to work as a lawyer and I worked in the corporate world, I often wore suits. And of course I tried to make this as, me as possible. Sometimes I'd wear bright colors and I'd wear very feminine pieces, and I try to make it as me as possible. But at the end of the day, mostly I was wearing a suit, and, there were only so many suits out there. So when I moved into what I'm doing today, so when I moved into coaching and started my online business, I was then suddenly able to wear whatever I wanted. And so what I shifted to wearing was, wearing beautiful dresses and these, beautiful feminine flowing colors and just whatever I wanted, basically. And I didn't realize how much wearing those suits was impacting in the way I showed up in the world, in showing up as myself, because it was almost like I was hiding behind this suit, Whatever image I was portraying to other people was being affected by the suit I was wearing, because when I put on a suit, I almost became, on a subconscious level, what I thought I needed to be, or what someone wearing a suit would be. Whereas when I wore my beautiful floral dresses that I just love to wear, I've always loved wearing them ever since I was a little girl. So when I would wear these, I would feel more me. I would feel like, hey, this is me. I'd sort of relax into them. And there were no pretensions. There was no someone that I was trying to be. This was just what I loved to wear, and that felt comfortable to me and is the way that I want to show up in the world. So this then affects the way that I then show up in the world. So the way that I speak, it affects the way that I, interact with other people. It affects you on such a bigger level than simply just in the clothes that you wear. I felt like myself, so I was able to show up as myself. So that's just a little example. So what does this have to do with purpose? Well, when we are able to show up and truly own ourselves, so whenever I talk about embracing who you are, I'm talking about embracing everything about you. So that includes your body, it includes the way you look, it includes everything about you. You embrace all the parts that you love about yourself, and you embrace all the parts that you don't love about yourself. And it doesn't mean that you have to start loving those parts that you don't love about yourself, but it means that you accept them. So you accept all of who you are and you embrace that. And the reason we do this is because whenever we argue with reality, so whenever we argue with what is, we always lose. And this is a quote that I heard and have always loved using from Brooke Castillo. I can't remember where it was I first heard it, whether it was in her book, If I'm So Smart, Why Can't I Lose Weight, which I highly recommend, or if it was on her podcast, the Life Coach School podcast. But she spoke about this. Whenever you argue with reality, you lose only 100% of the time. And so I've loved this when it comes to particularly being almost obsessed with the way that I look and with body image, wanting to lose weight, wanting to be more beautiful, wanting to look a certain way, wanting to basically manipulate the way that I look so that I could feel good about myself, because I had so much of my self-worth tied up in the way I looked and what other people thought of me. Now, whenever you try to argue with what your reality is currently right now, you're always losing. Like, nothing you do is going to change the way you look right now in this moment, right? In the present moment. The only thing that is going to change the way you feel about the way you look, which is the real problem that's coming from your mind, is changing the thoughts that you're having about the way you look. So the problem is only ever in our mind. And we spend so much time fixated on the way that we look, on our weight, on how beautiful we are. But what we don't realize is that the solution to that perceived issue that is in our mind is by changing the way we're thinking about ourselves. So the only truth that there is in this moment is not all the lies that we feed ourselves, like you're ugly, you're overweight. These are all, they're not facts, right? We can't say with certainty that, I'm fat or I'm ugly. This is an opinion, right? So this isn't something that we can say with certainty. So whenever we're sitting there feeding these thoughts to ourselves that are then just causing, negative feelings about ourselves, we're just completely losing out. Where for the starters, it's not reality because it's not a fact. And this is what Byron Katie's work is all about, loving what is. So it's not a fact that we're ugly. It's not a fact that we're overweight. The real fact is that we have a body. And right now we're sitting here and we have a body, right? And the other fact is that I am feeling bad about the way that I look because of the thoughts that I'm feeding myself. That's a fact. So the solution is in the present moment, in the thoughts that we're feeding ourselves. And if we want to not experience those negative emotions, we can simply accept what the facts are right now in the present moment, which is that I have a body. And this is a particular saying that Brooke Castillo uses with her clients, and Brooke has her focus. So Brooke is a life coach from America. She's amazing. Her focus was on weight loss from the beginning of her life coaching practice, and I found her really helpful for helping me to build a better relationship with my body. And so she says, when you are someone who is hating on yourself about your body image, you start to tell yourself things like, I have a body, because that is a neutral thought. It's not going to create an emotion that is negative, and it's not going to necessarily create an emotion that is positive, but it's going to be neutral. And that's good because it's also a fact, right? So we're not losing anything by making that statement. In fact, we're probably gaining something, because if you are someone who is constantly hating on your body and the way that you look, this is going to relieve you of that immediately. You don't need to do anything else except simply change the thoughts you're having about your body. The other thing that you can do is to look at how you could feel more positive emotions. So you could tell yourself, okay, if I think the thought that I like my body, or even concentrate on an area of your body that you really like, you will start to have positive emotions about your body and the way you look. You could even start telling yourself that you love the parts of yourself that you have historically, up until now, told yourself that you didn't like. Now, this is going to create a positive emotion. For many of us, when we are first moving our way through this work, we're going to think that this is too much of a leap. So it's not going to feel maybe truthful and honest to ourselves. But the point is that the solution is always in our hands. We can shift to actually loving and accepting all of who we are. And in my opinion, this is the only way to do it, because this is the reality. This is who we are, right? No amount of trying to change your body or lie to yourself about what the reality is right now is actually going to help you. What is going to help you and be a solution in the present moment is loving and accepting you for who you are right now. And just think, I was actually talking to my friend Caitlin, who's here with me on this trip today, about this. I was saying it's kind of like you want to think about, your body is your number one partner in life. And so if you treat your partner badly, like you're telling them that you hate it and that they look terrible and all of these things, why would your body show up for you, right? It's like you're beating it into a corner and trying to force it to do something. And so that's probably going to end up in it not doing anything. Now, and I said, think about it as, one of your best friends. And she was saying, oh, well, with your friends, sometimes they're the ones that might lead you to do things that aren't so great for your body. So what about thinking about it as if, it's a parent or a family member or maybe a child? And I really loved that, because it's like the role that we want to have with our body is like we are there to look after it. We're there to nurture it. We're there to protect it. Because if we don't have our body, then, we're not here. One of the beautiful women I used to work with, Maria, used to say, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And it's true. And so when we think about our purpose, if we aren't looking after our body, if we aren't nurturing our body, if we aren't loving on our body is not going to show up for us, which means that we're unable to show up for our purpose in the world. But even more than this, the amount of time and energy that we use fixated on the way we look detracts from showing up for things like your purpose. It stops you from creating. It stops you from creating all of the things that your heart is calling you to create. And this was the biggest realization I had. And for me, the biggest moment of all of this was specifically in relation to alcohol. So I realized oh my gosh, the amount of time and energy that I use worrying about alcohol, like because I felt that alcohol had a big impact on my weight and also on the way I felt. So it was affecting my health a lot. So for me, it was tied into body image in a lot of ways. And I thought, if I did the same thing that I've done with, my weight and with food, so rather than fixating on this issue, if I eliminated it by just not having an issue with it. So for me, that was to remove alcohol from my life. It was like, okay, I make the decision that alcohol is not something that's going to be even a possibility for me. I'm just not doing it anymore. When I made that decision and commitment to myself, I no longer needed to spend the mental energy and time worrying about it, right? So I got all of this time back, which is why I say that 2017 was such a pivotal year for me, because I gained so much time by removing alcohol from my life. Now, this was the same thing that I have done when it comes to weight. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not still triggered on this issue, because it's something that I have struggled with for a lot of my life. I struggled with overeating. I've struggled with emotional eating. I've struggled with, body image dysmorphia. I've struggled with, wanting to be more beautiful. I've struggled with lots of different issues when it comes to a body image, and also fluctuating, in weight. So feeling overweight, and then even when I would lose the weight, always feeling like there needs to be more. So lots of different things around weight. And when we think of all the hours, all of the energy we use worrying about our weight and the way that we look, when for most of us, all this is going to result in is, when it comes to weight, is us actually just losing and then gaining back and forth the same, 10 pounds or 20 pounds, whatever it is you fluctuate between. We spent all of this time fixated on it when we could be using that mental time and energy for something else. So I feel that this is something that for many of us, the mind fixates on as a way to distract us from showing up for our purpose. So when you are worried about the way you look and your image, the way that people perceive you, just think about, if I stopped this thought loop, so if I stopped this, banter that's going on in my mind, if I stopped this chatter, and instead use this time and energy to focus on the things that I want to create in my life, how much more time and energy would I have to show up for my purpose in the world? It is a huge deal, because there is so much time we spend fixated on this. And at the end of your life, when you look back on everything that you've created, are you going to remember the amount of, weight you lost, or the amount of weight you put on, how beautiful you appeared to others? Or are you going to remember the things that you created, the difference that you made in the world to other people's lives? Now, when I say all of this, I am not saying that we shouldn't take care of our bodies. I love to eat healthy food. I don't like to eat processed food. I don't like to eat meat, right? Sometimes I have seafood, but I don't like to eat meat. I don't feel like it's good for me. It doesn't agree with me. And I also don't like it morally and for the environmental impacts of it. So these are choices that I make. I like to eat foods that are sustainable. I like to, look after my body. I like to put ingredients on my body and in my body that are natural and organic and that aren't going to hurt me or harm my hormones and my beautiful endocrine system. I like to wear beautiful clothes that make me feel good, that feel good on my skin. I like to wear clothes that suit my body as it is right now. I like to, accept that my body is a female body, which means that it fluctuates throughout my cycle. During my luteal phase, so during the premenstrual phase, during my inner autumn, I tend to be more bloated. And actually during my summer and ovulatory phase, I also bloat as well. Once upon a time, I would beat up on myself for that changing body, but now I accept it. And what I do is wear clothes that make me feel good. So actually, I don't have anything tight on my stomach around this time. And I do things that my body is calling me to do. And one of those things is movement. So rather than seeing movement as something that, oh, it's a chore, I've got to go do it, I changed it to how can I move that feels pleasurable to me in this moment? What would feel fun for me in this moment? What is my body calling me to do? Because our body wants to move, right? It wants to move energy. It wants to express itself. It wants to, have that beautiful movement that we're capable of. So instead of using movement for weight loss, I started using movement as a way to express myself and to do something fun. And this has made all the difference. The other thing I did was and I'm not saying that I do this all the time, but for the most part, stop overeating. So I read Brooke Castillo's book, If I'm So Smart, why can't I lose weight? And one of the things she recommends is to think of, you've got a scale there. It's from -5 to 0, and then from 0 to +5. And she recommended staying within -2 to +2. So -5 being like the most starving you could be, and +5 being the most full you could be. So you went through each of the, rungs. So -5, -4, and then so on, and what you would feel at that stage of like satiation or hunger. And so -2 to +2 were the range you wanted to stay in. So you wanted to, when you started to feel -2, and 0 is in, you're neutral, you're neither hungry nor full. When you're at -2, that's when you start eating, and you stop eating at +2. And I really loved this when I did it. It really helped me because I realized how much I was overeating all the time. And also sometimes I was under-eating, because it depends in the moment, right? But the only way we know is if we tune in to our body in that moment. Am I giving you enough food? Am I at, a +2 right now? And we do this overeating, and I think it has to do with this scarcity mentality that we have, for the most part inherited as a collective because of, we were a society where there was a lot of scarcity. There were a lot of finite resources, and this is where our brains are operating from. So it thinks, okay, I've got to eat as much as possible now because I don't know when it's going to run out. But we need to consciously remind ourselves that that's unlikely for us, for most of us right now, that is unlikely. And in fact, why do we want to overeat? This just takes resources from other people. The other thing I have done was around emotional eating, was to recognize that whenever I was emotionally eating, so I was using food to escape my feelings, that wasn't doing me any favors, because those emotions were going to remain there repressed in my body, and they would need to be released at some stage. So whenever I felt like I was reaching for sugar or carbs, which tend to be what I would reach for as a way to check out of what I was feeling in that moment, which could be boredom, I started to journal. So I would go and ask myself, what am I trying to run from? And I just see what would come up, how am I feeling in this moment? And it was amazing because 9 times out of 10, once I finished that journaling session and explored what I was truly feeling in that moment, I didn't want the thing that I had craved beforehand. And my rule was, if I still wanted it after I did that, then I could go and have it. And that really helped me to overcome emotional eating. Again, I'm not saying that it's something that I never do, but it is something that I've significantly reduced, and that's been really helpful for me. And something that I love that Brooke Castillo talks about, I listened to a podcast episode of hers recently, and she was talking about, what we talk about what's normal. And so it's normal for people to overeat. It's normal for people to emotionally eat. It's normal for people to eat foods that aren't actually good for them. It's normal for people to not exercise. But we have to question what the normal is, because that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for us. And we want to be loving and nurturing and protective and looking after our beautiful bodies, right? No matter how they look, because they're there to help and support us. And when we do this, we have more energy to show up for our purpose in the world. So as we get to this time of year, I know that many of us are thinking about our body. Many of you will set resolutions around your body, wanting to, change the way you look, wanting to finally make this the focus for your year. And I think that this is beautiful foundational support that we all need. But when it comes to where our creative power is and what we want to focus on, I think I want to encourage you to dream bigger for yourself, right? This is potentially a low-level distraction from what you're actually here to do. And if we are the people that are going to just gain and lose the same, 10 pounds, what is the point of it all? Can't we just ask ourselves, what food do I need in this moment? Can't we love and accept ourselves for the way that we look right now? All of these things are in your power right now. So the problem that you have, there is a solution, and the solution is something that will fix the issue immediately. So as in, there is a problem right now. If you change your mindset, there is no problem right now when it comes to your body. And I also want to encourage you to think about the way that we perpetuate this negative behavior and thought patterns, not only with ourselves, but also the people around us. So have a look at the language you use. Have a look at the focus and the fixation we have on the way that people look. There are so many situations I find myself in where we sit there and say, oh, you're so beautiful, you've got such a great body or whatever. And we don't realize that by saying this, we're comparing ourselves to this person, but we're also encouraging other people to use this kind of behavior. And so what it does is it makes the other people in that conversation start to think about the way that they look. And it also means that we are just rewarding people for the way that they look, right? If it fits a certain ideal. But don't we want to look at the way people act? Like, what are they doing to, be a loving person? And beauty is so much more than the way we look. Beauty, real beauty, comes from the soul. It comes from being aligned with your truth, from being confident in who you are, from embracing all of you. It comes from loving in action, being a beautiful person to other people. And when we can recognize the beauty within ourselves, this is when we can recognize the beauty in other people. This is when we become that abundant person, right? We have this abundant mindset because we recognize the beauty within ourselves, which allows us to recognize the beauty that is all around us. And some of the most beautiful things in the world are not what we would have traditionally thought would be beautiful, right? You think about some of those boundaries that have been crossed by people, or when you see someone that's just so lovely and they're so loving and they've got so much love to give, or when you see a beautiful connection between a person, you feel that connection. These things are so much more beautiful. And, I appreciate people who do look beautiful and spend time loving themselves and wanting to show up feeling beautiful. But this doesn't come from just in the way that they look. It comes from something so much deeper. It comes from their heart. It comes from the energy that they're emanating in the world. So I really urge you that if you are struggling with body image issues, to think about what the solution is in this moment. And the solution is you. The responsibility is with you. And the solution is to change the way you think about yourself right now. Another beautiful resource I have for you, which I truly believe that every single person should watch, is the movie by Amy Schumer called I Feel Pretty. If you listen to my last episode, you'll know that I watched that 3 times on the way over from London to Bali. I didn't plan on watching it. I just saw it and thought, hey, this seems interesting. I like Amy Schumer. I don't necessarily, I'm not a big comedy person, but I watched it and I was so captivated. It literally felt like this was the story of my life. I resonated on such a deep soul level. It was incredible. I was laughing and crying, and it has such a beautiful message, and it's so powerful. Basically, it's about a woman who has really low self-worth and doesn't believe that she's beautiful and desperately wants to be beautiful. She believes her life will be so much better if she could just be thin and beautiful. And she basically falls over. So she has a head injury, and from that moment on, when she sees herself, she sees someone who's truly beautiful, and she believes that she is a completely different looking person. But what's so beautiful about it all is that she has just started to see herself as beautiful, and she's the same person all along. It's like such an incredible movie. I highly recommend you going to check it out. By me sharing that, it doesn't give away, what everything that happens in the movie. It's so incredibly beautiful. And I listened to a couple of interviews with Amy Schumer about this movie, and she said that the reason she created it was because of how many people spend so much time and energy fixated on the way that they look and wanting to change themselves, and how this detracts from them doing other things in their life. And I thought that this was just such a beautiful message. It's so incredible. So I highly recommend you check out that movie if you are someone who has struggled with body image issues before. I also want to mention that something else that I love that Brooke Castillo teaches is that she believes that every single person, regardless of their circumstances, will experience life where 50% of it is going to be negative and 50% will be positive. So she says, regardless of what your circumstances are, you're always going to have issues that you fixate on, and you're always going to have something that's going to cause you negative emotion. Now, I agree with this, although I don't believe in categorizing as positive and negative. I believe that we're always going to experience the whole plethora of emotions that we have available to us, and that this is a good thing because it's just a way for us to know where to move next, so we can course correct based on our emotions. And they're not there to be scared of, they're there to experience them and to feel them. This is the human experience. And so, but the point of this is that whether you're someone who is by society standards beautiful, naturally beautiful, or thin, you are still going to have 50% of the time where you're not feeling good and you're struggling with something. And so for many of these people out there, it's still their body image, right? They're worried about, gaining weight, or they're worried about, their beauty fading as they grow older. And all of these things, right? There's always something that they're still fixated on. And if it's not their body, it is something else. And so we believe that our life is going to be so much better if we simply change the way that we look. But the truth of the matter is, the mind is going to fixate on something else. And, for some people, that's about finding a partner. But this is not where we're ever going to find the end to our struggles. The end to our struggles is in actually loving and accepting yourself completely as you are now, and that is also as you are alone without a partner, and bringing purpose and meaning into your life. Whenever I work with clients on finding love, we are working on their relationship with themselves, because this is what is most important, right? This is what allows us to help attract someone into our life that is going to be a beautiful partner for us. It is on first learning to love and accept ourselves for who we are. And no partner is ever going to fill that gap. No change in the way you look is ever going to fill that gap. It is something that you have the power to start feeling right away. It's an inside job. And when we remove these issues with body image, what usually happens is we will find that there is something that we want to feel within us. So a lot of us, use food and alcohol to fill ourselves up, to check out, to fill ourselves up with love, to find pleasure, to celebrate with food. When we remove all of that, it can be quite uncomfortable. And this is something that Brooke was also talking about, wanting to fill the void. But having this discomfort is a good thing, Because when you remove all of this stuff that's in the way, all of these, low-level distractions that aren't really serving us in any way, that we don't need to be worried about, when we remove this is where we create the space to hear from our intuition, to hear our heart, to follow our calling, to follow that creativity we're receiving, and to show up for our purpose. When we remove all of these things, we are able to find what gives us truly that sense of meaning in our life. And this is in creating and aligning with what we're here to do in this lifetime. Every single one of us has beautiful gifts to share in the world. And by the way, every single one of us is beautiful. And we are able to experience what it means to feel beautiful when we feel aligned with our truth, when we feel aligned with our sense of purpose, when we feel like we love and accept who we are. And all of this, every single aspect of this, of feeling beautiful and of being beautiful, is available to you right now in this very moment. In this moment. And all you need to do is start to make that decision to not spend your life fixating on the way that you look, not to make weight or the way you look a problem. Because you love and accept yourself for who you are, you choose to support yourself by having nurturing practices for your body and choosing food that nurtures you, and you don't choose to think about it. You don't choose to emote negatively about the way that you look. You choose to accept the way that your body is and the way that you look. So when you make these supportive choices, maybe you're not going to be as thin as you want. Maybe you're not going to be the weight that you want. Maybe you're not going to look the way that you want, but it's about the way you feel. Do you have enough energy to show up in your day? Do you feel physically like I am energetic and I can show up for my day-to-day, the things that I want to do? If you're feeling good, then that is all that matters. What matters is what you create. It's what you do with your time. It's in the difference you make in your life and other people's lives. And we all have the power to do this right away. So you are beautiful. You have beautiful gifts to share with the world. And I really, truly hope that this episode has helped you. Thinking in this way has helped me to create a beautiful, loving relationship with my body. When people ask me, how I've lost weight, I say I just started to truly accept the way that I look in whatever shape that is, and that this is me. This is what I've been handed. And so I'm going to do the best that I can with what I've got. And I'm not going to sit here worrying and spending all of this time wishing I looked a different way to what I am, because when you argue with reality, you lose only 100% of the time. So spend some time today choosing to love and accept yourself for the way that you look, choosing to show your body some love, and choosing to have fun with your body. This is your beautiful number one partner in life. Okay, my beautiful friends, I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. I would love to know your thoughts on this and whether this has helped you. I hope that you go and use some of the resources that I've mentioned. I'd love to start this conversation with you all. And I just hope that you get closer and closer to your purpose, because we all benefit by you showing up for your beautiful purpose. And if you'd love a community that is heart-centered and high vibe and there to support each other as we learn, expand, and connect on making the difference that we want to make in the world, I invite you to go over to the Make a Difference Soul Tribe. You can find all the details at letitiaringe.com/make a difference. You can also still access my free 5-day purpose training to help you find and show up for your purpose, which is over there in the Facebook group. And I also ask that if you want to work with me in 2019, to show up for your beautiful purpose, I invite you to check out my online group mentorship that begins on the 6th of January. It's called Activated, and you can find all the details at letitiaringe.com/activated. Remember, if you are listening to this before the 13th of December, then you can sign up before then using the code on the Activated page to receive 25% off. I can't wait to work with you, and I'm just wishing you all a beautiful rest of your week, and I will see you next week with another episode to help you unlock your truth and purpose. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. If you feel called, I would love it if you could please take a minute to rate and review this podcast on iTunes. This helps other people like you find it. And I also invite you to take a moment to share this episode with a friend you know needs to hear it.